Hello and welcome to another episode of the Get At Gaming Plus podcast. I am Alex,
I'm Ben.
and I was on what do you call it? Auto pilot, and I said all of that, and then after I said that, I don't know if you caught it. Maybe the cameras will catch it. I was like, "Wait, where am I? What am I saying?" I was like, "Wait, did I say that correctly?" But it's been a while. It's been a while. I feel since
It's
we've
been a bit.
done done some recordings and stuff, but not for you guys. For you guys, it's bi-weekly. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Bullhorn, it's on Amazon, it's on other places probably that we can't see the stats for. So if you like the podcast, please follow it, please like it, please do things on Spotify, preferably, since we actually see those numbers. Otherwise, see our lovely faces or ugly faces, you decide. Right in the comments, are we ugly, yes or no? You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com
Wow,
slash
that's
get at
pretty
gaming.
brave.
You
That's
know,
pretty brave.
I don't think we're ugly.
I don't think so.
Yeah, like that's not a bad like it's also not really a compliment. It's just like, no, we're not ugly. you know
No, no.
we're not good looking, we're not ugly. But anyway, today what we're gonna talk about, it's in the title, hopefully. um we thought I thought, and then we thought, we would talk about a little bit of just how we do things, get a
Yeah,
little behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz type stuff. Um so I kind of want to explain. We're not gonna go like step by step on like how to do things. This isn't a tutorial. This isn't like top 10 ways of getting famous. It's not that. Because if we did that, then we would know that we're famous and we're not. But we would follow those. Um and so what we plan on doing is just kind of like talking about some tools that we use, talking about how we started maybe as well and how it is a little bit different now, but not super specific. But I did want to explain how hard and or easy we have it for certain things. Like for example, it was harder probably to set stuff up at the very beginning. Ben can attest to that because Ben was the one who set up everything at the very beginning, because I wasn't even here yet. I did not exist. And so with that, we other people have it harder now to like get on Amazon, get on Pandora, get on this stuff. So I kind of want to talk about how we first started, how you first started really, and got this ball rolling. And yeah, so this turned into a mini interview for a little bit. So
I
yeah,
know,
why
right?
don't you talk to the lovely people and tell them
Yeah,
how you started. We don't really need to get super specifics, but I would appreciate if you mentioned like Anchor and just how that all that stuff used to work.
yeah. So I had a good friend of mine who, back when I was, out of high school, he worked for an alternative radio station. His name was Chad, um, and he was awesome on there. And I said, "Man, one day I want to do something like this." And I, out of the blue, I reached out to him on Facebook, and I was like, "Hey, I saw that you now have a talk show that's recorded and it's done in a podcast." I said, "How do you do that? I've been wanting to do a podcast for a long time." He goes, "Yeah, just use Anchor. It's super simple." I was like, "Is it really?" So got on there. Um, and many people that have been listening for a while know that I talked to Spencer first, who's not on the show now, but shout out to Spencer. And he came to my house and we recorded here. And just a couple episodes in, he goes, "Hey, I think we need to bring in one more person." That's when I met Alex. This was 5 years ago, that we started. And I could
Yeah.
tell you that Anchor was the best thing now, which is now Spotify. Um, you could either you could record and upload your podcast, and then it would automatically distribute it out whenever you said to. Spotify is the exact same thing. There. And you said before, like how it was at the beginning. Good Lord. Um, I remember, I think it was like Alex's first episode. So we did it in this room here. None of this stuff was here. I brought this big, like, unfolded table. We each had our mics. And then in the corner of this room here, we had an all in one PC that should never have ran any of the shit we were doing. And Alex is laughing because it was a
It
nightmare.
was horrible.
The first episode with Alex, we took an hour and a half just to get things working. Um, and then luckily Alex kind of was like, well, let's try this. We had to download this program called Banana
Yeah.
because what we were using to do the recording, Anchor at the time only let you do like 30 minutes at a time. Our podcasts were generally longer than 30 minutes.
Hmm.
So it was just a nightmare. But after that first time, we saved everything and it did get better. I think a couple times I felt like my PC was smoking. Um,
Yeah.
to run 3 mics and record, no video at this time, uh, was pretty rough on that PC.
Yeah.
Now my PC now has no problem. I have a pretty beefed up system. But yeah, like I think, you know, starting from when we started to now, it's much easier now, but we've been doing it for so long. It may seem easy to us, but it definitely is not easy for everybody that just wants to start out doing this.
Yeah. And we've learned a lot of things in the past, and or from the past, I guess I should say. Um, but to kind of go off of what I was saying before, like we're on everything because of the way that Anchor used to work, and so we're kind of
Yes.
grandfathered into a lot of that stuff. From what it sounds like, in order to get on all these other things, Spotify doesn't necessarily just push those out. You kind of have to like manually do them yourself with the RSS feed and all of that. But with Anchor, it was set up to like kind of just send stuff to Apple, send stuff to random places. And then it also sent stuff to like Amazon, like I said before. I know plenty of people who were like trying to get on Amazon, or know of, I guess, people who are trying to get on Amazon, like kind of funny. Like I know at that time we're talking about how like, yeah, I'm trying to get on Amazon, I'm trying to contact them. And it was just really funny at the time because you got an email or something that was just like, hey, you guys are on Amazon. And so,
No, no, it was funny because like the way it was is we got an email inviting us to be on Amazon.
oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, why not? Right.
Hmm.
I said, let's see how much work is. So I log in, I sign up as a podcaster, log in, I gave him the RS feed, and then like, all right, you're good to go. And then it started showing up on Amazon. This was very early
Yeah.
when Amazon first started doing podcasts on there.
Yeah.
They had books, they had music, but they didn't really have podcasts.
Yeah.
So we are one of the first groups there.
That's
And
crazy to
now
think.
it's like difficult to get into. Um, I want to bring up another one like Pandora.
Yeah.
A lot of these places you have to go, you have to fill out some stuff and put your RS feed in there, and they will either accept you or deny you. Um, so keep that in mind. With going into different places, like we're on Bullhorn. I'm not even sure how we did that, but Pandora, iHeartRadio, we actually had to fill out forms. I heard back from iHeartRadio, congratulations, your podcast has been accepted. It will now be on here every. Pandora never heard anything, and it was you that called me and was, dude, we're on Pandora now.
Hmm.
I never got an email or anything.
Yeah.
Um, and so keep that in mind when you're doing, if you want to start your own podcast, it's going to take a lot of time to go and put your RS feed places and, um,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. It does take time. Luckily, Alex and I um, really pushed for a lot of it, where we
Hmm.
would go and fill out stuff, you know. Um, and then I remember at one point, like I never heard back from Pandora. Not a "Hey, you're on here," iHeart was pretty quick. I think it was
Yeah.
like a day, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and then we had a couple places that closed. The apps, they don't even do they're no longer in existence. I think one of them was like podcast or Pocket Cast, I think is one of the places we were doing it. Um,
Podbean, I think, was one of them too. I don't know if that
mm,
still exists or not, but yeah, there's just a bunch of random little podcast places that for some reason we just had access to because Anchor opened the doors, I guess. I'm not trying to say anything bad about podcasts with Spotify or anything necessarily, but because they're owned by Spotify now and very blatant about that, and like so much so that they changed their name, um it is harder to get the access and the analytics that you desire because as I jokingly said at the beginning, um like it's hard to see analytics unless they're Spotify. So like you'll have to like create an account for certain places that you want to see the analytics for and then type in your stuff and then hopefully they just show you your stuff. But like right now, like we used to be able to see everything or mostly everything through Anchor and it would like break down like where places and where things were going to, how many people are watching, listening, whatever. And now it just only shows the Spotify numbers. So like just keep that in mind that like every place now has their own analytic site and there aren't really big sites that just track everything, at least for as far as I can tell without paying. Um so yeah, just keep that in mind when you're if you're setting something up that your numbers might be higher than you actually think. So
yeah, and I
that's the
feel
thing.
like, and we're looking right now to try and figure out a good way to check numbers. Um, I will say, as Alex said with numbers, to us, numbers are important just to see where we're at. Um, we're not living day by number of, oh my gosh, we only got like 20 downloads here versus, you know, 100 here. Like, I think it is important to know your numbers because then you could say, hey, I did this new episode, this didn't work.
Yep.
Hey, I did this episode, this worked. Like, we were going through our first episode got like 70 downloads. And then even one with Alex, we talked about Pokemon, huge numbers. Um, and those numbers have kind of tapered down a little bit, but we've still stayed pretty consistent with our numbers.
Yeah.
And if we find out a way to check all of our numbers everywhere, we'll let you guys know. We'll let you know on social media to to do it. But I would say going forward, if you're wanting to start a spot podcast, first thing to do, sign up for Spotify's podcasting. It is the easiest way of legitimately getting it out there.
Well, I guess yeah, that but also come up with a come up with a good name. um
Did
like
I?
no, I mean like come up with a name so you can use it for a Gmail and then just have or some sort of email, you know, so you can have consistency with
Yeah,
connecting to things, like have a business email ready to go, just because you don't want to call yourself like I don't know the greatest podcast and then you go and you type it in, it's like, oh, the podcast wasn't taken but the greatest podcast at gmail.com was taken. You like you don't want that messaging and uh issues with marketing there because like your Gmail or your email in general is just like your gateway to marketing, your great way to collaboration, um
yeah.
just so many things. So yeah, just um make sure that you have a name that you enjoy and stick with it, I guess.
And I will say once I talked to Spencer about, hey, I want to start a podcast. He's like, what's the name? I'm like, I don't know. I brainstormed for a week or so just to be like, what should we call this? Once I came up with the Get Out of Gaming,
Hmm.
I did a Facebook page, I did Twitter, I did oh, what else did I do? I did anywhere that I could, including a Gmail account, to make sure that our name was there. Also, I did searches to see if it was even if someone was doing anything remotely close to it. So when Alex says, "Hey, double check to make sure," do extensive searches because the last thing you want to do is like to do a podcast and find out that somebody has a name that is relatively close to yours. But
Hmm.
once you find one, put it everywhere. Facebook, Twitch. I did Facebook, Twitch. I think we did YouTube later. Um, but I basically did all that stuff right away.
Yeah.
And then when Alex got on and we started doing more social media, I was like, man, you could just take over Twitter slash X. But then he did Blue Sky.
Hmm.
So we really got on it pretty quickly. Um, one thing I would suggest is talk about something that you really, really, or do a podcast that you really enjoy talking about. Um, our podcast has definitely
Evolved.
changed, yeah, evolved where we were just video games, we were only news, and now we're more of a conversational podcast about video games, anime, movie, TV shows.
Yeah.
Um, it has been received much better that we've opened ourselves up.
Yeah.
Um, so one thing I would suggest to anybody, don't be afraid to like take if you're doing a podcast and you're like, man, it's not really there yet. It's okay to change a little bit, you know?
Yeah. I wouldn't say to completely change. Because that can mess up. That could be a middle finger to your current followers. If you just completely just like, oh, like say we were a gaming channel, right? We were like just mostly like only that, right? Say that that's all the podcast was, and then one day we're just like, you know what? We're gonna talk about cooking, and so we're just a cooking channel, and a
Yeah.
cooking podcast, and like that's okay to have that as like maybe an extra thing, for like a week or something, but just like make sure you tell people like this isn't the normal, but for like there needs to be gradual changes, I would say, unless like it's been a long time since you've done something and then you like kind of start like after like a long hiatus maybe. um I would say do gradual changes, because otherwise you're going to scare your already potentially loyal listeners, who like were already following you or subscribing to you or anything, and then they'll see this in the feed, get all excited for a little bit, and then listen, like this isn't video games, this is just talking about, I don't know, like steaks or whatever, and it's just like no one, you might get different people, sure, but at that point just create a new podcast about steaks or
Yeah.
about cooking. Like just don't, I don't know, don't mess with what you already had. If something naturally has to end, then make it naturally end. Um, but yeah, if you want to try to be successful, I would say like just make sure that you just do gradual changes and not scare away your audience that you have already gained trust from.
Yeah. And I think that's important. Like you do a lot of work to earn trust and to do that. I think, and I know this is not just about how we do the podcast, but if you look at the 5 years that Alex and we've been doing this, we've had some crazy guests on here. We just did one with Encore um, earlier this month. But we had Jay and Rob from N64 Quest and Nintendo Quest.
Yeah.
We've had developers on. Um, I will say we have definitely evolved, but we still stayed the same. You know, we've still stayed that there.
Yeah, I will say that because as also because we were more active on other platforms, as well as because we did evolve into not just talking about news. If we were still stuck in that hole of just talking about news, we would have never received codes for games. We would have never talked to Jay and Rob. We would have never had any sort of these opportunities that we've had to talk to developers, um, because that's just, I don't know. There's so many, granted nowadays as well, there are so many podcasts like this too. But
Yeah,
like at the same time, I feel like we're a little different compared to others. I feel like we're less of a kind of funny. Okay, I don't want to scare the audience. Um, we're less of a kind of funny, but we're more of a uh, where you call it CLS media or whatever they're called, like Colin Moriarty's thing.
Oh yeah.
In the sense of um like I feel like they're way more conversational. Like I feel like we're in a mixture between like some of their shows. Like I want to say we're kind of like a Sacred Symbols. We're also kind of like a Constellation with a knockback. Like we're basically I'm not saying that we're as amazing as them or anything, but we're basically like all of those separate podcasts kind of into one. And so it makes it more conversational and makes it more approachable and all of that compared to like just doing straight up news. And like there is a time and a place for that, especially like when um like you need those trusted sources. Like if we talk about news, sometimes we do talk about news, like if it's very important to video games, movies, what have you. But yeah, just not being stuck on that anymore. Like if we were still doing news, I feel like one, I feel like we would probably have stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing is like the reason Alex and I work so well on a podcast now, this is if you're gonna get a podcast and you're gonna get it with somebody else, make sure who you're working with on the podcast, you guys could come to compromises. Um, I see a lot of people that do podcasts. We actually knew of some people that were doing a podcast, and it got to the point where no one wanted to do it anymore because it was not structured or it just kind of was random all the time. The best thing about Alex and I is like when we come up with show ideas, we run it by each other. There are times where I mean, I don't think I've ever said no, that's a bad idea. And neither has Alex. The one thing we've always been is like, hey, that's fine. Let's do that, but maybe let's do this here. Or
Yeah,
like
like
come
we
to a
change it up
compromise.
or something. Yeah, for definitely.
All whoever you work with, make sure it's somebody that is open to doing new things and that. Uh, I think the reason we've been successful and gone so long is because of that. Like I have always said, and I think you said, you don't want to come to do the podcast where it feels like a chore.
Yeah.
And to me, it's never. I've done this podcast sick as crap, man.
Yeah.
I think I think I just got out of the hospital at one point, and I still did it.
Yeah.
Um, I a couple not last May, I was really sick
Hmm.
and it was not good. And I got out of the hospital. I recorded that Tuesday.
Yeah.
I was in there recording, no problem. So
Yeah.
I think I think that's another thing to take in consideration. And we'll get back to like programs and things we use, but I really want people to understand like do it yourself, great. If you want to have guests on, get people that you think that you will mesh with. But if you're going to do a podcast with somebody else, make sure it's someone that is open-minded enough to be like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, or like brainstorm. Because Alex and I talk a couple times a week. We're always brainstorming off of each other. Like, hey, like we just had one. I don't want to spoil it. We talked about a show. It's going to be a long show, and I said, you know what? Let's save this for Christmas when we're on break because it's the perfect show for Christmas there because it's
Hmm.
something different and it's going to be a longer show. So just make sure that's if you're working with somebody.
Yeah. Also to let you all know as well, we're always learning. So
Yeah.
much so that I forgot to write timestamps for the one episode that I feel like we should have written timestamps for. So I'm doing that right now. And just writing down like what we were talking about just a second ago. And I'm actually, you know what, screw this. I'm
Do,
just gonna listen to it later.
I mean, I was going to say the next thing I think we should talk about that's super important is microphone. Um, maybe like go for equipment. So we're using really, really nice microphones now, but we didn't start off using these. We used
No.
the Blue Yetis, and they're perfect for starting out.
They
I think
are
that
just not when you're doing it in the same room with three different Blue Yetis connected to one all-in-one computer, and then you hear
yeah,
everyone's background noises. You
yeah,
hear whenever someone like leans on a table or writes stuff down, because that was the huge problem where like we would hear whatever Spencer was doing.
Yeah, yeah. But I will tell you this, like we ever since we moved, we'll get into more like how we record now, but I will say like the Blue Yeti mics were easy to use.
Mhm.
They have a headphone jack so you can hear yourself because you do need to hear
Yeah,
yourself for volume levels. Um, and then on the back of it, there's actually switches to use if it's multiple people, if it's just you. We learned this later, but I think starting out, they're like $120.
they're
Catch
cheaper
them on
than
sale
that
for a
now,
hundred.
probably.
Yeah, catch them for $100. Um, and I will tell you, like that is the perfect. I still have my Blue Yeti. I think it's behind me. Um,
Yeah, mine's
you know,
somewhere in a closet somewhere because I keep it just in case. But we used it like last year.
yeah,
One of them, I don't know where that cable is. I think I gave that back to you. Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe we'll have to buy another
who
cable
knows?
again
We're
because there was
probably
a
fine.
cable. Remember, we had to buy a converter for like USB C to USB A
Yeah,
for that laptop. So we might have to do that again at some point because I don't know where that
I
cable went.
mean, yeah, but like it was a good mic for years, and then Alex is like, "Hey, I think we should upgrade mics." So
Yeah,
we're running the Elgatos now,
yeah, the
and
Elgato Wavelink threes. So
these are nice mics. I would like at some point, and I know Alex is scared about it. I would like to upgrade to those really really nice mics with a soundboard, but now you're talking some serious
that's like thousands of
cash.
dollars.
Yeah,
de-
probably.
Depending on what it is. Like the next thing that you could do maybe is an XLR mic from Elgato even because like they have those long
Yeah,
ones, that you can use and plug it in and do all that and like that'd be fine as well. But for what we're personally doing, I feel like these work 100% well. Like
yeah,
these like the XLR mics or I guess I should say and we can get into again in some of this here in a second. But the main reason why I said to get these um was because I wanted the program that came with it. We used to use Banana, as Ben mentioned, which was essentially a a virtual audio mixer, like instead of like having an actual like audio mixer like on the desk. It was as if we were plugging in microphones into
mhm,
one. And so with Elgato equipment, starting with the Wave 3 and now the XLRs do it. um, some of the other things do it as well. There's something called Wavelink, which is essentially a better Banana, I guess. It is a program that is an audio mixer where you can give your microphone updates. You can add filters to it. You can put other things to flow through it. So the way that I record and then the way that Ben records as well is that we use a certain program, which again we'll go into in a second, but that um, one of the in mic ins for the program is the stream output, which is like I don't do it with my mic, but I would say like Ben's thing plus whatever video game we might be playing, or Ben's thing plus if we're watching a video like Chrome or whatever web browser you're using. Those have different levels as well, so like I can adjust the levels separately accordingly for those programs, and then they all funnel into one input to then be output for the final project or recording or stream or whatever.
yeah. I think once we got that, and then Alex and I sat down and we did that. Um, I think our podcast sounds way better than when we did it. Even when we started using some of these other programs, um, which we'll go into here in a minute. Um, the Now what I use to like, and we could talk about it. I guess we could jump in. So I use OBS to record the audio part. Now I'm not going to go into the steps that I had to do to set this up, mostly because Alex did it virtually with me. Um, but OBS for us. We could record it, and then I could take that file and I can edit that file. I can bring it into it, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about the other program I use. But for us, this program works the best. Now, granted, we don't record anymore together.
Yeah.
Um,
We haven't in a long time.
no, and Alex can go into like what we use for that. But for us, OBS to record the audio part is perfect. I have it set up to go in the proper file, and when I get it, I use another program to edit that and add in the opening, closing music, and stuff like that. Uh, it's really, really easy for me now.
Yeah.
Before, just trying to get the files and the raw file, it was a pain in the butt. But now that we're using OBS on my side, um, it's great, and I can even record even though we're not in the same room. Um, it's like as we're talking now, I'm looking at levels, I'm looking at
Yeah. Same.
CPU, I'm looking at the frame rates per seconds. I can see all of that on my computer screen as I record. So if you are starting out, OBS is one to look into. I don't even remember what we used before, but I'm pretty sure OBS was the one we used when we started recording away
I
from
think we use oh jeez.
Streamlabs, maybe?
Yeah, I
I think
think
we used
so.
Streamlabs at one point,
And
but
then
I think
at a
OBS
one
is
point, then I was like, we need to stop using Streamlabs because it uses too much CPU. Like it's one of those
yeah,
weird programs that like is a modified version of OBS. And so like it has all these extra bells and whistles that just make your computer run super slow. And it was especially bad when we had older computers or older things that we were using at the time. But yeah, I would say for the consistency for the most part, that's why we both actually use OBS. So there isn't much of a shock value of like, hey, the mics sound different on this one compared to this one. Like they're roughly the
yeah.
same, I would say. Um, if you're just doing a podcast, you might not want to use OBS. You might want to try to look at a different program, to be honest, because OBS is mostly, I mean, OBS stands for Open Broadcast Software. It is a free like .org type website where you can um program where you can get from a .org website and find it. It's open source, obviously. Um, but for that, we just do it just because we already knew how to set up the filters. We already knew how to do all this other
Mhm.
stuff. Ben can convert the file already just on his own from MP4 to MP3. But for someone who's just doing audio only, you might just want to, I don't know, just use Audacity, just live record there maybe.
Yeah.
Just do that because that might be easier for you. But just for us, just because we've also used those computers and we were setting them up for like live streams or something like that too. Like I know Ben has some scenes and sources and stuff on in his OBS, as do mine, as I do on mine. It's just easier to just have everything filter through OBS just because then everything kind of consistently sounds the same, hopefully, unless there's something weird happening. And so yeah, that's what we use. What we're using currently for the video. Um, so I want to say maybe like a little before Spencer left. I almost said Spencer left us. I was like, that's sounds like he died. Spencer left the podcast. A little before that, I made the suggestion of we should go to video because that's where a lot of people are at. And it's really easy to record video once we get it working, once we make it look good. Um, it's just really easy to do, and it's just another avenue for people to hear and see things. Makes it easier. So like I can just hold up, I don't know, like this thing in Nadia here, Secret Blue Water. And for a video, they can just see the Blu-ray. But for audio, then I have to be like, hey, for you audio listeners, I got this thing. So like it's a lot easier, like especially if you want to make YouTube only content, or live streams or streaming or whatever. Um, having a video set up with OBS is really great to use. I still have all the same filters and stuff. Um, that we use primarily for like the audio and stuff, like on Ben's side. But the main difference is like, yeah, once we perfected the way that this looks, now I have extra scenes. So for actually, I don't want to switch to that. Well, I could do these. So for audio listeners, you won't see this, but if you want to go to the YouTube and go to this timestamp around, there is no timestamp, but maybe around like 35-ish, 36 minutes. So I have the little buttons here with a Stream Deck, or I could just do it through OBS where I can go, whoa, it's just me, or whoa, it's just Ben, or then I have this little stinger thing that goes as a animation. So there are a lot of things that you can do. And so once I got everything working and set up, it's really just a matter of just turning it on, and just moving things to certain screens to make sure that OBS notices it. And then because I have open our call in like I open it separately from the program, then it knows to record that call, and it knows exactly like where to crop it, so then it doesn't see like the green line. Like if Ben makes a noise or something, you don't see that green line popping in and out every time it
Yeah.
notices the audio. um and so yeah, just once you get stuff working, it's great. But when you add more variables into it, like if we're doing like 4 people on here, it's kind of annoying to do live, so you have to like have people bear with you for a little bit just so you can
Yeah.
get stuff working, because you can't fake having 4 people like in a call. It's really difficult to do, so you kind of just have to like be like, hey, can people, you don't even have to actually be here, but can you just be here for a little bit, so I have the windows so I know where to crop and do all this kind of stuff. But yeah, that's what we use. And then we also, as Ben said before, yeah, we record remotely, and we have since 2020. Yeah. So since the lockdowns and stuff were happening, we found a few programs. Like Spencer was trying to use Zoom at one point, because Zoom was free for the first hour, I think, for recording. And so for some of the stuff that we were recording, it was Zoom only.
Those were
and
still
and
those were
those,
still
yeah,
were
those
bad.
were not great. I dropped something, I don't know where it went, it's fine. And then I don't even know where those are anymore. Like there was even video with those too, and I don't think we
Yeah.
recorded the video at all from that. And so we did that, and then we kind of switched to Discord. Do what you want. You don't have to do this necessarily, but we feel that Discord is the easiest way to record,
Yeah.
just because you can uh, you can have your own servers, and then within those servers you can have a special channel. The way we do it is that if you come to our Discord and hang out, you'll have to like react to some rules, I believe, and then once you do that, then you're automatically a listener, so you have a certain role. But if you collab with us, I will manually go in and give you a different role, and then you can see this recording room. So it makes it a lot easier than how we used to do things, where we would just do manual chats on Discord. And so there would just be a ton of chats where it's like, oh, here's me, Spencer, and Ben. But then we had a guest, then we'd have to like make a new chat with 4 people instead of 3 people, or move the people around. And so it was just really difficult. And so eventually I was like, why don't we just make a server? And so we kind of made a server just for recording's sake, but now it's kind of, I mean, we guess the game every day, but
Yeah.
so like there is traction there, like people are there, but we also like there are people there, but then we also do have those collaborators, so then they're always there. So people who we've worked with before. Like Jay and Rob are still technically in there, I believe.
Yeah.
So like if we ever do work with them again, they thankfully are still in our server, and then so we would just like collaborate with them in other ways, like email or contact them, and then we'll be like, cool, we'll do a time, and then they can just go into this chat again. Like it's super easy because they have the role, they can see this, and we don't have to just do everything different. And then because um the way that screen capturing works with OBS, it has to generally be named the same thing in order for it to capture. Otherwise, I have to change what I'm capturing, and then it changes like how I've cropped it and all that. And so having the name always be the same because we're just going into this chat channel here, it knows the screen cropping for Ben's like camera right there. It just knows what to do. And so it just I model a lot of this stuff after like how Kind of Funny was doing things, because I listened to one episode where Kevin Coelho was just like, here's how I do things. And so um I wanted to make it so this was as the least amount of work possible for turning something on. It might take a little bit to set everything up initially, but once it's set up, it really is just the matter of testing our mics. Do they sound good? Do we have to adjust something for some weird reason? No. Yes. No. We're good. All right. Cool. We can now just hit record, and now you can see us, you can hear us, you can do all
Mhm.
this other stuff. There isn't the hour and a half like Ben was saying with like the old times where it's like we're making sure that all of our local stuff was working. This is the easiest way to record. Maybe if we find like another spot to record someday, we might change how we record. But honestly, it's easier because one, we can record on a random night on a weekday. Um, we don't have to leave our houses. Um, and we can spontaneously, if we have to change something for some reason, like as long as we're at home, we can just get in here and record, or um, do whatever. So like, yeah, it's just way easier to just use Discord. So especially if you're trying to do a podcast with someone who isn't around you, then yeah, it is possible. You just use Discord and then just record the Discord
Well,
audio from your
yeah,
system on
and
here.
I will say, like, those nights when you would come over and Spencer would come over, God, they were so long.
So much
Like,
coffee.
I remember, yeah, and I would do a pot of coffee because we would be here. I remember one time we were here till like 2:30 in the morning
Yeah.
recording, and we would record a bunch of episodes. The convenience with Discord now, Alex and I jump on, we do it, we're gonna go, we talk a little bit, and then it's done. It's done. And I think that also helps back to not getting burnt out.
Yeah.
Um, bring we decided a long time ago that if you ever notice November, December, we're gone. We take 2 months off every year because this is a lot of work through the whole year, and we go 100%. So I I would say, like, if you're starting, make sure you do that. It's okay to pre-record stuff.
Yeah.
We pre-record stuff. Um,
Just make sure you're not too
we
dated.
Yeah, yeah, don't do anything crazy. We actually the other thing I want to bring up is once you get into podcasting, um, we wanted theme music. We wanted opening and closing, and then we wanted special occasion music, right?
Yeah.
And so we went to Fiverr, and it's been a great experience for us. So we have Christmas music, intro and outro. We've got our game show, intro, outro, and we also have our regular that was created just for us. And it didn't cost a ton of money. Um,
It might now.
I It might now. I think the intro and outro cost us like 15 to $20.
Because they expected us to want something longer. And we are like, no,
Mhm.
we really just need 15 seconds for the beginning and the ending. And so they charged us for a 30-second thing.
Yeah.
And then just did it differently for each 15 seconds. And thankfully we were able to work with that person. And then unfortunately that person no longer is on Fiverr, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, but then I forget, because I don't do those business transactions. I forget the person who we did the Christmas music with. Is that who did our game show music?
No, so
Okay.
we
Oh,
asked
right.
him
We
to do
tried
our,
to. Yeah.
and he was just so busy.
Yeah.
And our Christmas music is pretty good. Um, and we only use that for there. Now, I will say, if I could get Alex to either play or watch Scary
I knew
Things,
you were gonna say that.
maybe in October we'll have something.
No.
Um, but who knows? The thing about Fiverr is we do these contracts and we're done. So our Christmas music, we just have to put the guy's name in there and his Fiverr account. So in the details of that, we put that in there. Done. It is a good way to make your podcast unique
Hmm.
in there. Another quick thing is he talked about Audacity. Audacity is free. They're always updating it. I use Audacity to insert the opening and closings. And sometimes we've had guests that have very long pauses. You could use Audacity to clip those out or clip them down so they're smaller.
Yeah.
Um, so and it's a free program. So I use it to do all of it. It'll convert it and everything. And and so yeah. Um, what I think Alex and I are really trying to get down to podcasting is when you start, try to make it as simple and easy as possible because this should be fun, you know? Um, and so far we've had some like really a good time.
Yeah.
Um, there have been guests I still want on the show. So more from Mort's Garage, if you're listening, please be on our show. Um, but I think, as we were going, like I never thought we would get Jay and Rob
Yeah.
and they were here. And so it just goes to show you when you start doing a really good job and you show, these things just open up. We were not getting developers the second year. I will tell you that. It has been many years of being consistent. So that's another thing I know Alex wants to probably bring that up. Being consistent of when you say you're going to launch and when you say episodes, that's also kind of when we went to every other week. Doing weekly was rough,
But it's
I
funny
think.
though, because we
Never doing.
technically do weekly.
Yeah, we definitely do weekly because we every week. Uh,
Yeah.
but
But I wanted to bring in really quick though, because you talked about how like, yeah, we wouldn't have been able to do this stuff 2 years in. I agree with that. I think also certain sponsors and certain things like don't um they don't understand podcasts, I feel.
yeah,
Um and so once we created a YouTube channel and had stuff here, they kind of take you a little more seriously. So yeah, just don't be afraid to make a YouTube channel. And then if you ever want to be experimental and stuff with YouTube channels, it's way easier to. Case in
mhm,
point with like our reviews and stuff like that we've done uh for like the Ever After Falls, which was like game provided by Akupara Games. Same thing with man, what's that called? I almost said Crypt of the something. Crypt Master, right? No.
yeah.
Is it Crypt Master?
I think you're
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was our first game provided to us by Akupara Games, and then we work with Indie XP to talk to all these other developers and stuff as well. So like, yeah, they're cool people who do exist, and they will notice you when you put yourself out there more. And podcasts are great. Podcasts are amazing, especially just audio. But sometimes seeing a face with a voice really helps promote yourself.
yeah.
So yeah, sometimes, or just having video content definitely helps promote yourself more. It's easier to share a YouTube video link than to share a Spotify podcast specific episode.
Also, it's okay to say no to sponsors. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say their name,
Yeah.
um, but we did have a sponsor, and it was great at first.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever felt so great, and then, it didn't feel so great, and then they were, like, really asking for a lot. It was a good experience on there's no negative really. I think it was a good experience for us
Yeah.
because they did ask for a lot. Um, and then we always had to kind of be like, "Hey, you forgot to pay us." "Oh, we did?" "Yeah." But I think, my strong point is the business side. So luckily Alex didn't have to be like, "Hey, you didn't pay us."
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's okay to say no to sponsors if it's not something. I know it's exciting when you get a sponsor. Look and see what they're required of you first. So we did a sponsor. We had to sign a we okayed a contract.
Yeah.
Um, and it was a long contract. And then we were like, hey, that wasn't too bad. And it's like for 3 months. And then first the year they said, hey, we'd like to do a 6-month contract or something. And we
Mm-hmm.
said, sure. Um, it got to be a little more demanding. Um, so just keep that in mind if you are looking to do a contract with anybody as a sponsor. Just make sure it fits what you guys do, and also understand what they're asking of you because it does get rough. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, we had to cut the podcast and record a week early to get it to them to approve it, and they wanted it to be non-recorded, meaning like we had to do it in live of the podcast. So
Yeah.
just keep that in mind. And I know we're going through a lot. We're just really kind of saying like, "Hey, these are things we did. Here are things we probably shouldn't have done," or like what programs we use. Because initially, if there's more people podcasting out there, that's great. And if you're listening and you're like, "Hey, I want to get a podcast," we're on all the social media. So Blue Sky, X, Facebook. Reach out to us and say, "Look, I do this podcast. Maybe we'll get you on the show to kind of collab together." I think
Yeah, for sure.
that's the other thing we've done a lot of collab in the last year or so. Um,
Yeah.
shout out to a couple uh, of the people we've been collabing with, but we've had some really great collaborations, and that took time as well. I kind
Or you
of
just know
I don't want
people.
to. Yeah, it's so bad. I'm like bragging about what we've done,
Yeah.
but these were not overnight things at all.
No. I mean, some of them is just like pulling favors from friends who are popular. And
Yeah.
so like that helps out a ton. But then also like yeah, just pulling some of these other people who we just meet um helps out. But yeah, before we go, I did want to bring up there's a lot of different editing software and stuff that you can use as far as like video goes. Don't be me. Don't use Adobe because that's expensive. I have a way of getting Adobe um just through other like means, through like work means
Mhm.
and stuff. So um so like don't spend for Adobe. Don't do it, honestly. Like it's not worth it for someone starting out. Maybe
Yeah.
eventually, but there are a lot of other free source stuff. I just can't think of the names right now. Maybe Canva, I think is the name.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, there are quite a few different programs and stuff that you can use that can be either open source free, or you can pay X amount. Like I don't think Sony owns Vegas anymore. I think it's just called like Vegas something, and you can get that from like Steam supposedly. So like there's
Yeah.
places where you can get a lot of these editing softwares and things um for video recording and video editing. But yeah, I highly do not recommend getting Adobe unless you're making money. I guess. Because like yeah, if I wasn't getting Adobe this way, we would be using a free software instead.
Yeah.
um oh, and then I did want to bring up, speaking of money, I pay, this is more just for me, this isn't really a thing that Ben pays for, but I we get a sponsor, we get a not sponsor, we get a I get a perk out of it. So I pay for Discord Nitro, just for myself, which gets me a lot of different perks and stuff that I can use on my own. Like I can have like different user profiles on different servers, so I can look different, or I have different uh what do you call it? Profile pictures or whatever. But then also you can boost servers, and so that's another reason why we record in a server, because I boosted our podcast Discord server enough to where the audio bit rate is better than even if we were just like in like a peer-to-peer like call through Discord. There are perks of using Discord Nitro. You also can use like your emotes anywhere and all that kind of stuff too, in any sort of server. But yeah, it's not required, but it's nice. So if you can weigh the pros for like your own personal stuff and you just want Nitro, but then you also do want to start recording remotely like this and you want to boost your server, have at it, I guess. Because at least just one person needs it to boost it to this amount. I think 2 people won't get that next perk. I think you need like 3 people boosting it a certain amount, or at least like 6. I get like 2 boosts or something like that with my Discord Nitro account. So like so I think you need like 8 or something like that, or 6, in order to like have like the next like, oh, you can do it in 4K or something like that. Um, but yeah, so there are things that you can pay for if you really want to. It's not required, but sometimes it helps.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we wanted to do this episode mostly just to tell people like it's doable. Um, Alex and I both work full time jobs. I have 5 kids, and I'm still able to make this work. Um,
I do
but
not.
I like, yeah, Alex had to get off the phone with me earlier because there was anger, um, in one of them. But I think the other thing is like we both enjoy doing this. This is my weekly escape from being a parent. Um, but I think doing podcasting or video, I think it's great. You
Hmm.
just got to come up with an idea of what you want to do, and then really put the time and effort into it. Um, Alex and I, if you guys think we've done sponsorships and we've made a little bit here and there, but the amount of time and effort we've put into this is a lot. Definitely not like the high ranking YouTubers or streamers, but it to me, how cool is it when I talk to people and I'm like, oh, they're like, oh, so you have a podcast, right? I'm like, yep. And they go, you're probably like, you know, a weird. I'm like, no, we're on iTunes, Amazon, and then people check us out. I'm like, holy crap, they're on Amazon.
Yeah.
They're on iTunes. And there they are,
Yep.
and like I think it kind of is like a cool thing, but I enjoy doing it. Um, the new ideas. If you'd have told me I'd be able to interview people, I when I first started, I'd be like, no. But it's been a great. I'm glad that we're at 5 years. I would like to do this as long as I possibly can, and as
Yeah.
long as Alex wants to do it, we'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
So, um, we wanted to kind of give you some tips and tricks. Nothing crazy, um, you know. But yeah, we hope that this has like been good for you guys, and you guys are like, hey, now I want a podcast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Well, um, I don't really have much else to say about this episode. I'm not trying to cut it short necessarily, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed all that. I hope you understand all that. DMs are weird, but DMs are open kind of. So, if you need a chat, if you want to collab, as always, let us know. Um, but yeah, do you have anything else to say, Ben?
just to get at it.
Get at it.